everyone, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Gina and I make videos about houseplants and houseplant related content, and I make videos every week. So you should hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of those videos. So today's video is a favorites video, and that's my favorite plants or planty things or planty things for the month of December. So these are planty things or plants that during the month they just really stood out to me. So you know how you have, perhaps you have hundreds or 100 or 50 or 20 or 30 plants in your collection, but there is just every month there's just certain plants or plant related things that just kind of stand out in your mind as being extra special from the rest. So for me, for the month of December, I have all plants. I don't think there were any like pots or anything plant related that just kind of stood out, like that I just like, oh, you're just so cute or just extra special. But these plants that are on my favorites of the month are extra special. And each one of these, when I looked at them, when I went to water them, I was just like, wow, you are pretty darn awesome. So let's get into those. This is my first one I want to share with you, and this is the Piper crocatum, and I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. This plant, first we'll just give you a nice little close-up of those gorgeous, amazing leaves. So this plant I got in November for my birthday, and I did have a video, a shopping video on my birthday, and if you were around then, if you've seen it, you'll recognize that this was one of the plants that I got for my birthday. So when I was walking around the plant shop, I was looking at everything, and as soon as I saw this one, it just instantly, it stood out to me. And I was not familiar with this plant, actually. I had actually never even heard of this plant. So I quickly got on my phone while I was at the nursery, and I looked up its care requirements, and it sounded like something that I could handle. And that made me so happy, because I guess for me, the main thing is humidity. How much humidity the plant will require, because living in Colorado, it is quite dry here, and I kind of struggle with humidity. So yeah, that is the major requirement for me, is can I handle its humidity requirements. So this plant is living in my IKEA Milsbo cabinet, and my cabinet is not like, it doesn't get super high humidity. I think most days it's like 40%. I haven't like weatherproofed the cabinet, so that's why humidity stays fairly low in there. And actually this year we put a new furnace in our house, and in addition to the furnace we added a whole house humidifier. So like right now, let's see here. Here's my I have a little humidity gauge down here. So you can see this is just without any humidifier running. This is just from our furnace humidifier. Our whole house furnace humidifier keeps me at about 35 to 40%, which is pretty awesome. So I know I could very easily take this plant out of the cabinet, and it would be perfectly fine just living in the outdoor air, because like I said, that cabinet is not weatherproof. So it basically keeps the same humidity in the cabinet as what is in a normal room, like this room, without any extra humidifier running besides the furnace humidifier. So I guess my whole point in this is that you can easily keep this plant in normal room humidity, 30 to 40%. Unless yours runs even lower than that, then you probably want to think about supplementing the humidity for it. So other care for this plant, as far as like watering, this one does like to dry out, but it doesn't want to like completely dry out. So when it's like on its last bit of moisture in the pot, you want to water it. And I can usually tell by feeling like lifting it up. And I also use my, what do you call it? My moisture meter. I use that to figure out if it needs watering. So like this one, I have a watering schedule for my plants. So every Thursday and Friday I check on them. And I don't necessarily always water them every Thursday or Friday, but I check in on them to make sure that to see if they are in need of water. So like last Thursday, I checked in on this plant and it wasn't ready. So usually, just to be safe on plants, if I can remember a plant that wasn't ready for water, if I can remember, I'll check to see if, okay, let's see, like even like today, I'll check to see if it's going to need some water. And I'll use my moisture meter to check it. And this one still feels kind of heavy, so I'm thinking it's okay. It's not time yet. So as far as lighting for this plant, I've read online that it likes bright, indirect light. And like I said, it lives in my IKEA cabinet and it is pretty bright in there, but I have this sitting at the lowest level and it's kind of shaded because I have a shelf above it that has a fan on it, and then there's like other plants in that cabinet with their big leaves that kind of shade this one. And and it's still doing really well. So I think if it's it needs a bright location, but if it's shaded in that bright location, it seems to be perfectly fine for it. So basically you will just have to experiment with your lighting situation and see what is going to work for this plant if you decide you want to get one. All right, what else? So this may look a little bit different. If you saw my shopping video when I first got this plant, this may look a little bit different because it did have more leaves down here, and in the first like 2-3 weeks those leaves fell off, and but now, as you can see, we have new leaves coming out. So I think this plant is pretty happy and there's even a little tiny one down here that's pretty cute. And it might be difficult to see, but there are some more like little growth points coming out on the stem. And then these are the locations where those old leaves were that fell off. So they're growing back. In my experience, I would say that this is a pretty prolific grower. Not that it's given me a ton of new leaves, but there's so many new growth points on this plant, which tells me that it's a grower. So another thing is you want to give this one a pole or a stake or something, because it is a vining plant and it does want to grow. It wants to go up. So eventually I'll need to do that. And I have not repotted it. It's in the original pot from the store and I just haven't repotted it yet. Eventually I'll get there, but it's doing fine right now. The soil that I got it in is pretty decent. So I think it'll be okay for at least till the spring. So why is this plant on my favorites list? Well, mainly because of these beautiful heart-shaped leaves, and they're fairly big leaves. And I love pink. I love pink plants. And I just love that veining, that pink veining, and those beautiful shiny dark green, kind of olive green leaves with the pink. It blows me away. I just love it. And it's just so pretty. So that's why it's on my December favorites list. Wow, I talked a lot about that plant, but I just love it so much. So I could just go on and on about that one, but I'll try not to talk quite as much about the next ones. So my next one, I have to grab it. It's kind of large. Hang on a second. Oh, all right. I can't even get this in the entire frame. But this is my Monstera Peru. And I love this plant. It is so unique and different from any of my other plants. And it's this texture in these leaves and just that deep green color with this texture. It just really stands out from my other plants. So this is actually a fairly new plant in my collection. I started collecting Monsteras, and it started with the dubia, I think, Monstera dubia. And so I knew I wanted to get a Peru, and I went to my local nursery, and they did have them. And they were pretty small. They were in like a 4-inch pot, which actually I wanted a smaller plant because I wanted it to grow on a pole, and I just wanted a single stem just to grow up the pole. But it was kind of expensive, I thought. It was like $30 or $40. And before I was going to spend that, I knew that I had seen them at Walmart. So I thought, well, let me just go run over to Walmart real quick and see if they have any. And so I did, and sure enough, they had them. And you know, this is a multiple stem plant, but for $19.99, I think it was. Like, well, if I really want to do the Monstera Peru growing up on a pole, I can just propagate this one plant, and I can do that for like half the price. So that's what I did. So this came from Walmart, and it's grown quite a bit for me. I have quite a few new stems here, lots of growth points on this plant. And look at those beautiful shiny leaves. I really love this plant. It really has impressed me. And something interesting on this one strand here, the other day I noticed there's like, it's like almost like, well, I think I saw this one first. I was like, well, what the heck is eating my plants? My cats aren't getting into my plants, are they? But then I was looking at each leaf starting with this one. Here's where it starts. You get some little bites. And then now here's the next one. Then this one. Then this one. And even this newest leaf right here, as you can maybe see right there. It's doing it again. So it's not my cats. I think there's like a flaw in the DNA of this plant, maybe on this one stem, that is causing it to, and it's alternating. It's like it's on this side, and then it goes to the opposite side, and then it goes back to the other side, and then it goes to the opposite, and then it's like it alternates. So that's what makes me think it's not an environmental thing. I think it's just something in the DNA of this one strand, because this is, I believe this is the only one doing it, this one strand. So it's kind of interesting, very interesting. So why is this plant on my favorites list this month? I would say it's because of this foliage. This beautiful, it's a darker green color than my other plants, and then this texture is just so different from my other plants, and I just think it's so beautiful. So just like my Piper crocatum, it was the leaves that put it on my list. With the Peru, same thing. It's these gorgeous, beautiful leaves. All right, so we're on to the next one, and the next one is right over here, which this is my my Syngonium Wendlandii, and it's attached to my Syngonium wall trellis, so I'm not going to pull it out of there, but I will take the camera in for a closer look. But Let me just, if you haven't been around here much, you might not know that I have this big pink trellis in this is my office that we're in right now. And this is just full of syngoniums. And I love it. All right, so here we are going in for a closer look. And it's just, look at those beautiful. Once again, this is another one that the leaves have just, they're just so beautiful. And I mean, I have a lot of syngonium up here with a lot, a lot of them have beautiful leaves. But these just, this past December, they just really stood out to me. And there's even, I have a new growth point coming out here. So that's pretty exciting. And this plant I actually struggled with in the beginning. So I'm just so proud that I was able to get it to thrive again after its struggle. I think I let it dry out too much in the beginning. And so I babied it. And I put it right in the stream of my humidifier, gave it lots of humidity, and it bounced back. And it did beautifully after that. So then I moved it to this location, and it's continued to do just fine, even without having extra humidity. But I'm very careful not to let it dry out. So that is the Syngonium Wendlandii. So pretty. All right, so moving on to the next plant on my list, and it's two plants of the same genus, the same plant, just different colors, and they're right behind me here. And these are my string of hearts, and I have this one here, and then I have this one back here, and I'm gonna pull those down for you guys. So this first one, back when I first started my channel, I did a video on propagating string of hearts. And this was, in that video, I made this pot of string of hearts. And it's a combination pot of the variegated string of hearts and the Silver Glory string of hearts. So I have just been really enjoying this plant. It's growing a lot. It's very long, as you can see. And it sits on the shelf right here, and it gets the light from the grow light above my Syngonium trellis. And it's doing really well with that. And let me just pull down this is the regular string of hearts, just your standard. And actually the neat thing about this one is I did not purchase this plant. This was one of my variegated string of hearts propagations. It had a reverted stem. So I cut that stem off and I potted it up in here. And I have a brand new pot of string of hearts, just the plain old regular, which is still gorgeous. And it's just so adorable. I love the way both of these look sitting together on the shelf up here. And they're just so, just lovely. So I was actually a little bit cautious putting them in this location because I was worried that it may not be bright enough for it. But so far so good, and they've been sitting up there for a few months and they're growing. They continue to grow. As you saw, the first pot I showed you had a new strand of string of hearts coming out on it, the variegated version, and it's doing really well. So these guys are on my December favorites list. All right, you guys, I have one left to share with you, and it's right over here, and this is my Scindapsus jade plant. Isn't it just stunning? And once again, it's the leaves, it's the texture and the color and it's just so It's a large leaf, and it's just so beautiful. And I have quite a few Scindapsus in my collection, but this was the only one. I love them all, but this was the only one of those that just really stood out. And I think it's just this newest leaf. It's so big. And it does have another one on the way. Can't wait to see how big that one will be. So this plant lives in my living room, and I actually have dedicated shelves for my Scindapsus collection. And I was nervous. I was actually kind of nervous when I put all of them up on that shelf because they're not like really close to the window. And I was worried that they weren't going to be getting enough light. But so far it seems like they're going to be doing just fine. And I just noticed this. I don't know how I didn't notice this before. But look at, can you see that shimmer? I don't know if it shows up very easily for you guys, but the back side of these, I mean, you think the front side's gorgeous. This back side, this shimmering, sparkly backside of this leaf, it's incredible. So now I want to take you guys and show you exactly where these plants live. So you know the Syngonium wendlandii lives right here on my pink trellis wall. And then behind me, my string of hearts, they live on this shelf. But these other three, I want to take you to show you where they live so you get an idea of location for them, kind of their environment, how they're surrounded by other plants or lighting, that sort of thing. So we're gonna go put these back where they belong, and you can see where they live. All right, so the first one I'm going to be putting away is my Piper crocatum, and it lives right here in my IKEA Milsbo cabinet, and it lives amongst some Syngonium and this Syngonium here, this philodendron, lots of Syngoniums and philodendrons. And I just stick it right back here under this shelf, and it lives happily in this cabinet. So that's the Piper crocatum. All right, so next is the Monstera Peru, and it lives right in this spot here up against the wall. And let me just kind of show you how it has grow lights up above it there that shine down. And it lives with my other monsteras, my little collection, and just kind of a mix of different plants here. And it's really happy here. So eventually I thought I wanted to put this on a pole, but now I'm kind of leaning towards letting it be a hanging plant, but I'm not sure yet. We're gonna see. But this is where it lives. That's Monstera Peru. So last but not least, this is my Scindapsus Jade Satin, and it lives right here on the shelf. These are my shelves I was telling you guys about, where my Scindapsus collection is, and I think they look pretty cute together. But yeah, Scindapsus Jade. So these have been my December favorites, and I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. I enjoyed sharing my favorites with you for the month of December. And if you did enjoy it, maybe hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, maybe subscribe to my channel. It would really help me out. And I guess I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.